Morning, everybody. Welcome to this Friday's webinar from Annika Digital. It's myself, Anne Stanley. I'm hosting today. And if you've not met me before, I'm the founder and CTO of Annika. I'm with our head of paid media, Holly. Good morning, Holly.
Morning.
Holly's going to go first, and she's going to be talking about getting more out of your Google shopping. And then we've got a special guest, Sam Thelmans. I never pronounce your name correctly. Is over in Amsterdam, and he's our agency partner specialist from Product Hero. And Sam kindly did a really excellent talk at our recent Epic e-commerce conference at the National Space Centre. And this is his follow-up. So he's going to be talking more about that. Now, just a little bit of housekeeping. So Holly's going to go first. Please ask lots of questions in the chat. Myself and a couple of the other members of the paid media team, and I'm not in the paid media team, but a couple of members of the Annika team will try and answer the questions as we go along. If you haven't already got them, the slides are available top right, and we will be circulating the video after the event. It takes a couple of hours to process. Also, if you go to the top right of the block where the slides are, there are two little arrows which allows you to expand the screen. So myself and Sam will turn our cameras off. I'll just make sure, I think everything's fine. So we'll turn our cameras and mics off and hand over to Holly. And we'll, this is a 2-hour special, so we'll talk to you in about 45 minutes, something like that, Holly?
Yeah, round about.
Okay, thanks a lot. Over to you.
Cool. Thank you, Anne. So yeah, good morning, everybody. So I'm going to be talking on how to get more out of your Google Shopping. So this entails everything from the product feed itself into kind of how you structure your campaigns and different methods that you can use to kind of assist in building those structures as well. To start us off, for those that answered that aren't running Google Shopping, maybe not familiar with what we mean by kind of Google Shopping. Google Shopping is essentially, they are product-based ads, and they appear with an image of your product, they appear with the price, and they appear with the title of your product. And it all comes in live from what is known as a Google Shopping feed. And that feed is just pulling data straight out of your website. So all of the products listed on your website, depending on how you configure it, we'll pull it into your Google Shopping feed. That connects into Google Ads, and then it goes out as a shopping ad. By the nature of them, by the name of them, they are shoppable ad formats. And if you do a search in Google, they'll be the ones that appear typically at the top, but it is kind of moving around with all kind of the AI overviews and AI mode that's appearing now. But typically they'll appear in a carousel format at the top, and you can just kind of flick through all of the products that come up. They also appear in what is known as the shopping tab. So in Google, by default, when you do a search, you'll land in the kind of all search results. You can flick obviously across to images, maps, but you've also got the shopping tab, which you can flick through over there as well. So in terms of kind of what we'll take away from today is looking at how to optimize your feed for user searches. So getting you in front of more user searches, but more relevant user searches as well. How you can optimize your feed for performance, and this ties into how we use the feed for structuring our shopping campaigns, and then using AI and automation to enhance the process and make your job a little bit easier and more efficient. So first things is looking at how we can optimize for user searches. So this is all about making your products discoverable when a customer does a search. When it comes to the product feed is built off of essentially all of your product attributes. And an attribute is anything from the product title to the color, the material, size, the image, price, all of the product information that kind of your product holds. They're what is known as a product attribute in Google. And one of the most important attributes is the product title. And when you do a search on Google, the product title is essentially what the user will see. They'll see the image, they'll see the title. So this is what lets the user know, alongside the image, is this product what I'm looking for or not, essentially. And when it comes to the product title, there's a few different methods in which you can structure your titles. And the structure of your title is really important, because if you think about the Google Shopping, if I just do a search, I'm going to have to find a shopping ad. It's not playing ball today. There we go. So if we do a Google Shopping search, what you'll see is in the carousel, and this is even more obvious on mobile devices, is actually you only see a very small snippet of the product title itself. It's not until you hover over it that you see kind of the full title. And in some cases, even the full title gets truncated. So the order and the structure of your title is really important, because if a user lands on and does kind of a Google search and they see this, but they don't quite see what they're looking for. So if they're searching for New Balance trainers and in the title they can't see New Balance, then actually it starts to build a bit of a disconnect between what the user is searching for and what they're seeing in the search results. So the structure of the title is really, really important. And in terms of how you determine how to structure your title, it really depends on what it is that you're selling. So different products have different, or users give different importance to different products. So something like footwear, if they're searching by brand, the brand being in the title and at the start of the title is really important. But perhaps somebody searching for a piece of furniture might not be so brand led. And might be more open to kind of different options. So it depends on the product category that you're in. I've got a couple of examples of kind of how we go about kind of building those for kind of different categories. But think about what is important for the product category that you're delivering. And if you're kind of, you're selling multiple product categories, it most likely will be different across the different categories that you're kind of advertising on. So there's not a one size fits all. Think about what is important to the users that are kind of searching for that specific category. So if we take footwear as an example, brand's really important generally, particularly in kind of that sportswear area. Then we're thinking about things like gender. Product type is one that is always important. Product type is you literally telling the potential customer what the product is. So really, really important. You want that in on every single title that you've got. And then for footwear, we might start thinking about things like the key features. So in this example, the trainer's being lightweight. So what is the function? What is the feature of the product that a user might be searching for most frequently? Thinking then about the different attributes, so things like color, size, and material. So we build it out and we weight the most important, most critical elements to kind of the left and the start of the title, because that is what a user sees first. It also means that if Google does truncate the title, the user sees the most important information. And it also gives Google an indication and a cue of this is the most important information. This is what I want you to rank me against first when it comes to kind of delivering the ad and matching to what a user is searching for. If we then think about something like electronics, again, the brand is, typically very important. But if somebody's searching for things like a washing machine, quite often what we have experienced in the past and have seen is actually things like the model numbers for electronics, really, really important. So if you're thinking about somebody searching for like an iPhone, for example, actually very, very frequently, they're going to specify which model of iPhone that they're looking for. Whereas something like if they're searching for a t-shirt, model number, not so important. So again, it really depends on the category that you're in. With electronic things like key specs, so if thinking about the hot point washing machine, things like anti-stain, it might be kind of its spin capacity, things like that. We're starting to think about those kind of things that are not relevant to other categories, but in electronics, really, really important. So think about and consider which category you're in and build it out based on what is important to the users and your customers in that category. When it comes to adjusting the titles for reach, there are kind of two approaches for this. And the first one is where we add keywords to expand the reach. And for this, we're thinking about the category. So when you think about expanding reach and you compare it to kind of regular Google search ads, thinking about that in as a phrase match. So we want to expand the reach beyond just somebody searching for a New Balance trainer, for example. And that's when we talk about expanding the reach, we're talking about putting things in like the functions, the features, the sizes, the colors. So beyond just exactly what the product is. When we think about how do we want to reduce the reach of certain products, this is when we want to focus in on specific product searches. So with this, we're thinking exact match if we're thinking translating it into Google search equivalent. And what we mean by this is you don't want to, there's certain products within your feed that will perform well. These will be your top sellers, and your top sellers, you are more likely to want those to show for the category led searches, because they sell well, they perform well generally. So actually, if you expand the reach of these, you've got more chance of getting more back from them. You're going to, on the other hand, have products that don't perform as well for kind of the category led searches. They sell okay, but they're not your top sellers. So actually for these ones, you might want to focus these products more to just the very product specific searches. So you don't want to expand them into kind of category terms. And so on this, we're thinking about how do we exactly match the product to what a user is searching for. So when we want to expand the reach, we're adding in category, function, feature terms. When we want to reduce the reach, we're narrowing it down just to very specific product terms. And that's where you can kind of push and pull in terms of how much reach you want. This can be determined, by things like your budget as well. So if you've got a more limited budget, you might want to control how much you kind of expand and reach out to wider category searches. But the option is there, but that's kind of how we focus it when we want to kind of expand for more reach or less reach and control which products are getting that kind of higher reach. What that looks like in principle. So if we're thinking about kind of that kind of lower reach, on the left-hand side, we're looking at the title. So it's quite simply the brand name, the model number, the product type, and the color. So it's very, very specific. There's nothing that's going to expand that reach beyond kind of what the product is. In the middle, we're starting to add kind of a little bit more in there. So we're adding the size, the liters of it, and we're also adding a feature function led for the perfect temperature. When we get over to the right hand side, this is where we started to add in very kind of specific features, pain points, functions around rapid boil, 6 temperatures. But again, sticking with, we've also got kind of the product terms in there. So it's still a really relevant title, but it just means that we're able to expand the reach, because if somebody is searching for a rapid boil kettle, Google will be able to identify, well, actually, the one on the left doesn't mention rapid boil in the title, but the one on the right does. So that's more likely to rank for those kind of wider searches that aren't specific to the product. Not to say the one on the left wouldn't rank for it. There's potential that it would, but you just increase your chances and increase your deliverability by including those additional features. What you don't want to do is you don't want to keyword stuff your title. So only include information that is relevant and adds value. And actually you want to think about, well, what is a user actually searching for? And this is where things like analyzing your search terms. So if you're already running shopping ads, using tools like, so I use Claude, but you can also use things like ChatGPT. I use Claude because it's good at kind of the visualization side of things, but you can use many AI tool to kind of analyze, what are the search trends, what are people searching for to find the products, and then start incorporating those into your title to make sure that you're appearing for the most relevant and highest search volumes terms, provided obviously the highest ones are relevant. In terms of what that looks like in process, so there's a little video in here. Obviously, you've got the slides, so you can watch that back. But essentially, we add the prompt into Claude, just essentially asking Claude to act as kind of a data analyst. We want it to analyze the search term report, so extract a search term report out of Google Ads. And we're telling it, have a look, what are the most common terms that are coming through? These are single keywords, but then also what are the common phrases as well. And then Claude's going to go away. It's going to analyze that data, and it's going to essentially build a little bit of a widget and a visualization on the right-hand side here that comes through, and that's going to give you, the keyword clusters. We're doing it by impressions, we've got it by clicks, and we've got it by conversions. So we can start to see what are the top search terms, what are the top phrases, what do we need to incorporate into our product titles, and then we can select, well, actually, which of the products is going to be most relevant to add these in. Once we know what we want to kind of add, we can also use tools like ChatGPT for title optimization. So with ChatGPT, there's a couple of functions. You can do it in isolation for individual products. That's quite a manual, slow process, but that essentially looks like this. You give ChatGPT an existing title, and you give it the prompt asking it to kind of improve what's there, build on, what is best practice within kind of Google Shopping. How can this title be improved to maybe improve the reach and expand the reach? And it's going to give you back the title. It will give you some rationale as well if you ask it to, if you want to understand why it's added, what it's added. But that's kind of a very manual process. You do it one by one. If you've got a very small product feed, that can be feasible. So, we've had product feeds that, have got 20 products within them. Doing it manually for 20 products is very different to trying to do it manually for thousands of products. So that's one option. It's also a way for you to get a bit of kind of inspiration behind it as well. So you might not use it as kind of the full, but you might use it as kind of a base to get kind of a structure for your titles. A little bit later on as well, you can also ask ChatGPT. You can give ChatGPT kind of an export of your shopping feed, and you can ask it to run the updates within that export as well. Sam, who is talking after me on Product Hero, the Product Hero tool also has kind of AI functionality, so I'm sure Sam will touch on that as well. But there's a lot of kind of tools out there that can kind of automate this process for you by looking at your search terms and incorporating that directly into kind of the tools as well. But AI is kind of a way that you can use to kind of speed up the process, and I've got another kind of example shortly as well. Another element of the feed, and this is more for adjusting both for expanding your reach, but also helping you to kind of categorize and structure and report on your products a lot easier. So one of the attributes that you can submit to Google Ads for the product feed is the product type. And with the product type, this helps you to categorize the products for both yourself and for Google. Now, the product type is never visible to the end user, so you can have your product types as essentially whatever you want. The end user never sees these, but actually they can be really important for helping Google to categorize and rank your products. And we find that having a depth of at least 3 on the product type makes more optimal performance. And what I mean by a depth of 3 is when you build your product types, typically they will follow the breadcrumb structure of your website. So if you go to a home furniture website, the top level might be furniture, then it might go down to garden furniture, then you might go into patio sets, and then you might narrow further to cast iron sets. So this one here on the right hand side, that's got a depth of 4. But it's all about breaking it down so Google can see, okay, if somebody does a search for garden furniture in Google, but then they start using the filters in the Google Shopping tab to narrow it down to exactly what they want, Google knows if you've submitted your product types and you've categorized it into patio sets, for example, rather than just furniture in general, then actually it gives Google a lot more to work with in terms of where to place your product if a user starts putting filters in place, but also if a user includes any of these terms within their search as well. So that's on kind of expanding your reach. When it comes to structuring campaigns, product types can be really valuable to help you to structure as well. So we use product types quite a lot, particularly in certain kind of product categories. So home and garden furniture, for example, home furniture performs at very different periods of the year to garden furniture. Garden furniture is extremely seasonal to obviously the summer months. So what we don't want to necessarily do is have everything under the same product type, no segmentation, because we don't want to bid the same all year round for garden furniture as we do in the summer. And we want to be able to ramp garden furniture up in the summer. If we don't have product types, it becomes really, really difficult to kind of enable us to do that. So product types and having those there can be really valuable in helping you to structure and categorize your campaigns as well. The other element is your identifying attributes. So when you talk about identifying attributes, these are things like color, size, material. They're all the elements of your product that help Google to categorize and match to specific user searches. If you don't have your attributes there, or they're incorrectly populated, you can run into kind of miscategorizations, and you can have somebody searching for a size 10 product and your ad is showing for a size 5. It's going to decrease your click-through rate, it's going to decrease your conversion rates, and it's going to create a poorer kind of user experience. So having the attributes submitted, most of them are optional. There are some that are required for certain products, certain categories. So things like clothing and apparel, you'll need to add in kind of size and things like that. But for something like home furniture, colour, completely optional. But whilst it's optional, it is recommended. So the more detail, the more data that you can give to Google, the better your product feed will perform, the better it will be able to kind of rank against relevant searches. When it comes to building out the product attributes, it depends really on what's available on your website. So when you build your shopping feed, typically it's either via a plugin or via an API directly into Google Merchant Center. But sometimes the feed can come through and it's not quite formatted right, or you might have kind of issues and errors. But if the product information is there and available, one of a great tool that can be used is something called GPT for Sheets and Docs. It's got a 90-day free trial, requires a subscription after that. But if you use it in that first, obviously 90 days, you could get a bit of your, or a good bulk of the product feed and kind of ideas updated within that. And essentially all you do is you add your prompts, you give it the product page, which is in Colour D. So you're asking it, what is the brand, what is the product type, what is the product colour? And then you're asking it to go away, search the product page, based on each of the prompts. So we're searching in this one, what is the brand? And it's going to bring the brand back for you if the brand is visible and it's in kind of like the schema markup on the page, for example. And same for the category, same for the color. Now, it might not give it back exactly perfect each and every time, but it gives you kind of a good base. It gives you a good starting point if you've got none of this information available. So it's a good way to kind of go through and analyze and improve that product information. And once you have this information, you just then need to match it back, and we'll go through that in terms of how you get this information back into your feed in a few slides' time. But when attributes are missing or mismatched, you can see kind of the glaring one when searching for a blue jumper. There's one product. On one hand, sure, it stands out, but if you're searching for a blue jumper, likely chances are you're in the market for a blue jumper, not a green jumper. So when your attributes are missing or when they're incorrectly set up, you can end up in scenarios where your products are showing for searches that actually another product would be much better suited for. Because I'm pretty sure that in this instance, M&S would have had a blue variation or an alternative blue jumper that would likely perform a lot better within that search. When it comes to optimizing for performance, a lot of what we kind of use in this instance is starting to look at what is known as Google Ads scripts. And we use scripts as a way to kind of automate and pull out data that's not easily accessible within Google Ads. And we can also manipulate that data and pull that data so it can go into our shopping feed. So essentially it goes around in a full circle from the feed into Google Ads, back out of Google Ads and back into the feed. And there's a couple of scripts that we started using to kind of enhance that. Some are built by kind of other people, others we build internally as part of kind of our own product and script developments. But I've included a few of kind of the ones that we're using most frequently at the moment. So the first one is a script, and this was created by Flow Booster, and this is a performance-based feed update script. And essentially what it does is it groups your products based on the product performance. You set the criteria, you set the rules. So you can say, what is a high performer to you? So is it a product that has a return on ad spend of greater than 8 or 10, something like that? You then define what a low performer is, an average performer, and Google then categorizes the products based on the time frame that you set. So it might be 7 days, it might be 30 days, and it looks at what the return on ad spend was for these products. You can set thresholds, so you can say, well, if a product had less than, 20 impressions, then don't include it in low performers, high performers, things like that. And then you can use that information to push it back into the feed. And then what we do with this information is we build our campaigns out based on a performance structure. So we're grouping and allocating budget based on what is performing best. Where are you going to get the most results? Where are you going to get the best output? Now, this is a script based. There's also tools, if you're using tools like Product Hero, CSS, there's also built-in scripts and functionalities that run directly through the CSS tool and push into Merchant Center that way. So if Google Ads scripts, if you're not really familiar with them, something like the Product Hero using kind of their AI and script functionality to deploy this is a much kind of user-friendly way to do so. But it's a really great way to be able to control, where your budget's going, because if you have all of your products within the same grouping, within the same campaign, they all have the same target. So you've got high performers and low performers working to achieve the same thing, but the low performers aren't really doing what they should be doing. So being able to split them out, you can allocate separate budgets and you can allocate different targets. So for your low performers, you can say, well, actually, in order for you to show, I need you to give me a higher return on ad spend than for the high performers. So you can be more aggressive and show the high performers more frequently than the low performers. We also use what's known as a product trend script, and this helps to visualize and track increases and decreases in products and categories. Now, it's something that you can do, within Looker Studio. The script allows you to be a little bit more customized with kind of the output. I also set up kind of email alerts to get kind of the information back into my email, so I can see, well, actually, really quickly, if there's a big change in kind of any of these metrics for any of the products or the product categories, straight back into my email, I'm getting kind of alerts to say this product is trending upwards. Well, I can go and investigate then what's going on, and obviously you can do the same. So it's a really kind of quick and kind of visual way for you to be able to see kind of what's happening, and you can investigate then, well, if this one's trending downwards, well, why is it trending downwards? You can go and look, is a competitor running an offer? Are they running a sale? Or is the product out of stock? Has it come back in stock if it's trending upwards? So things like that, you can go and investigate. But if you don't have the data to know where products are trending or product types are trending, obviously it can be a lot more difficult in order to kind of get through and understand that. And the final one is tracking stock and tracking alerts for stock. So one of the things with Google Shopping, particularly if you've got high rotation of product stock, is there's no default alert to alert you that a product has gone out of stock via Merchant Center or via Google Ads. So you can be having, things can be looking great, things are trending upwards, and then all of a sudden something drops. What's happened? You don't know. But actually, and it takes you a little bit longer then to kind of pivot and dig into that data. But setting up stock tracking and alert scripts mean that you can track and get alerts when a product goes out of stock. So, and specifically when a top seller goes out of stock. So this script specifically looks for, okay, these are the products. These are the criteria for a product to be a top seller. And please track the stock status. So at the minute, this tracks for a 14-day period. If a product goes out of stock for a top seller, an email is sent and you're alerted. So immediately you can take kind of action on that kind of out of stock. You can pivot to another product. You can see if you can get that product back in stock quicker, but you can be more reactive to kind of what's happening on the stock side. The other thing that I use this script for is to track also products that come back in stock. So typically what will happen is if a product goes out of stock and it goes out of stock for a significant period of time, it starts to lose kind of traction. So it was building momentum, it's gone out of stock, and it stays out of stock. So it's not getting any ad delivery. And over time, that means it's losing traction and it's losing momentum within Google Ads. So when it finally does come back in stock, you might think, okay, my bestseller's back in stock, everything's going to shoot back up, everything's sunshine and rainbows. But actually, because it's lost the momentum, it's not as quick to, as soon as it comes back in stock, it doesn't immediately then start kind of building traction and going back to the performance that it had previously. So what can happen is, or what we use is a back in stock alert, and we use this and we take this and we put this label back into the feed so we can track and we can actively push and bid on and segment into its own campaign products that come back into stock. So we can push and give more budget to those products to get them back and get their momentum back quicker. So we use the scripts in kind of different ways to track performance, and you can use the same. And these are all built with a tool called Cursor. So we use them to track performance, we use them to report, we use them to kind of analyze and manipulate the data, but then we also use them to push that information back into the feed so we can use that to segment and structure and kind of manage the campaigns as well. When it comes to applying the optimization, so once you've got your plan in place, you know what titles, you know what attributes you're going to kind of optimize, there's different ways in which you can apply them. So, and they all have kind of different technical know-how and ability requirements. So the lowest technical is directly within Merchant Center. So Merchant Center has three options. You've got something called attribute rules, and attribute rules essentially is you take what information is there and you say to Google, either change it to this, set it to this, or take information from here and move it to here. So you set a rule which tells Google where to go and find or manipulate the information. That can be good for kind of certain attributes. So for example, it can be good for product types, and I've got an example on that as well. The other one is supplemental feeds. Now, supplemental feeds, really, really valuable if, for example, what we've had in the past is one of the attributes that's required for Google Shopping is something called a GTIN. And a GTIN is essentially the barcode number, and that barcode is universal across every business that sells the same product. And sometimes those GTINs are stored in a different system to kind of the website, so they're not being pulled into the feed. Supplemental feeds are a great method in which that you can essentially just pull the supplemental feed, pull the GTNs into the supplemental feed and connect that to your main feed. So you don't have to do any kind of technical edits. You can just connect the two together. So that's one kind of method. And then the final one is via direct edits in Merchant Center. Now, direct edits in Merchant Center they're quick, they're simple, but they do come with risk. And I wouldn't recommend using them unless you really, really have to. The reason I don't recommend using them is the edits that you make, they are, well, permanent as such until you undo the edit. But what it means is if you edit the title directly within Merchant Center, if then you make a change on your website and it updates within the feed, that doesn't then push back into Merchant Center. Merchant Center takes the override that you've written. So, and you have to manually undo each product one by one. So it's not the most effective or efficient way to make the edits. It is there. If you do use it, just don't ever change the price or don't ever change things like the URL or stock status, because they won't update and refresh if anything changes then on your website. The other option is you've got feed tools. So feed tools allow you to, so that could be things like Product Hero, there's like Data Feed Watch, lots and lots of feed tools out there. With varying different levels of capabilities, and they allow you to kind of a lot of them are like plug and play, drag and drop type features. So they're quite low in terms of technical know-how that you need to have. And then the final one is the website backend. So this is manually making edits directly on your website. This can have benefits to obviously your SEO and that side of things as well. So it is worthwhile if you have that kind of technical know-how. This is an example of feed rules and how you can kind of use it for things like product type mapping. So if your product types are pretty poor, but your URL and your breadcrumb structure on your website is really good, you can start to build your product types based on this. So you can say, if the URL contains bedroom, set the product type to bedroom. Obviously, you can go down like different levels to get those kind of three depth within that. Ooh. Finally, once you've got your optimizations in place, you've pushed them all through, what does that kind of look like, and why are we doing these optimizations? Well, when we put the optimizations into place, you can start to see sometimes immediately kind of the impacts of these. So this is showing an impact of where we've expanded the reach of a product title, and we've also optimized kind of the attributes like size, color, and product type. You can see the impressions start to build, and they continue to build as more optimizations go into place. So really, really valuable if you want to get and increase the reach of both products, but also product categories as well. And then we can start to see, this is a kind of more recent one, but the utilization of performance scripts. It's not always big jumps. Sometimes it's steady increases over time as you gain momentum, as Google starts to learn from the more data that's coming in. But all in all, really, really valuable and definitely worthwhile doing. That's it from my talk. But generally, key takeaways: set out with the purpose of your optimization, use AI and automation. But one thing, make sure you always cross-reference your outputs. And to really drive kind of increased reach, you want to work alongside like your SEO teams to improve the website performance. And there is an offer on at the moment that we're running, Google Shopping feed audits. If you are running shopping, but you're not sure on kind of, what's the state of your feed, what's the state of the campaigns, we do offer a comprehensive e-commerce performance audit. And we're running that for the next 2 weeks at 50% off for anybody in this webinar.
So I've just tried to put your email in, but I realised if I type it in completely without leaving a gap, it just puts a reference in. So let me just put that in. So Holly is holly@annika.co.uk. So if any of you are interested in taking the offer up, then please feel free. Not many questions, Holly. I was really interested in just how much it's evolved in the last year to utilise scripts and automation and AI in order to improve what you're doing. But what's nice about the AI and stuff that you're using, Sam, turn your camera back on, mate, because you're going to go next anyway. You might want to contribute into the conversation, is that it's not necessarily the automation that Google's got, which you've got no control on. It's the automation that you layer on top and that insight, which makes, the human still very valuable in a world that everybody thinks is going towards AI.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that was because every single time you do a talk, you just seem to have pushed the barriers more and more and more. But the interesting thing is you're using AI in order to be able to do that. So where do you think this is going? Do you think that this is the type of sector where really skilled humans are going to always be just the standard AI within the platforms?
I think so. I mean, Google makes its updates. So there's another script out there. I think it's a Mike Rhodes one that he built around kind of analysing when you run something like a Performance Max campaign, which goes out across search, shopping, display, video. Google typically didn't show you where any of your spend went and how each of the channels networks performed. So it was Mike Rhodes that built the script that kind of analysed this performance, and that's ahead of kind of what Google shows you. Google, eventually catches on that people like this information, but it's only just now releasing and it's still in beta.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not publicly available to everybody, is it? It's not like
2 to 3 years after the script was first introduced. So whilst Google, eventually might start showing some of these features and building some things in, typically actually for the size of the company that they are, they're very actually slow and quite dated and shielded with the data that they do give. So the scripts and pulling from kind of the Google Ads API, also like the Merchant Center API, and the same for kind of the other platforms where actually the data is available there if you go and look for it, but it's just not visible within the platform. So using the APIs and using scripts to pull that data just gives you a kind of an edge on what analysis and things that you can run.
And we don't offer that service to other agencies, but we do offer it to advertisers and e-commerce sites directly. And I know that one of the things that we're working on, which I'll do, is the AI agent marketplace. And it's almost like a rent. We can offer like a renter script. We're just trying to work out which ones will be easy that fit into that environment. But if any of you are interested in either the feed audit or renting a script, because you pay on a monthly basis for the scripts, you don't get them forever. You could contact Holly, but there wasn't really any questions. So, but it's a good segue over to Sem. I'm sure that there's lots of things that you've mentioned that Sem will now pick up on. So I think we'll pass on to Sem, but I suspect that means we might not go all the way to 11 o'clock. So
we did get a question in just now from Salu, I see.
Oh, okay. I missed that. Is that in the Q&A part?
Yeah.
So I'd like to hear your thoughts on pulling product data into GMC via plugins, Google's WooCommerce plugin. Does it work well to product data and eventually run in shopping ads using this data?
Maybe you want to take on that or Holly's?
Oh, either of you. Who knows the most about the? Just somebody would like to explain what the question's about, because if you've got a WooCommerce website or an e-commerce website, WooCommerce is the one that's often using WordPress. You want to get a mechanism to get your feed out of your website and put it over into Merchant Center. So in a lot of cases, you are using a feed. So this is an example of one. So does somebody like to pick up on that question?
I can speak about it briefly, because we have like 20% of our clients that use WooCommerce and 20% that does Magento, and then some more even that use Shopify. And I think it's all right to get going. So if you want some basic information gathered from your website, make a product feed so you can start advertising. You need to get that in the Merchant Center, and that's the way to go. But they miss out on a lot what Holly just shared. So your product titles might still be limited. You won't have all the attributes that do add to your overall performance, such as the color, size, material, patterns, because it's just too limited right now. So therefore, then you would need to do some manual adjustments, use a script or a tool like Product Hero to optimize whatever base you've got right there. So yes, it gets you going, Salu, but I wouldn't say that this is going to get you the results that you're looking for.
Excellent. It sounds like then that Holly's talk might be a good webinar for your customer base, Sam. So we'll have to sort that out afterwards. Excellent. Okay, so me and Holly will turn our cameras off now, and we can have pass over to Sam. The sorts of things I was hoping we could talk about at the end is some of the new things that are happening, like ChatGPT's relationship with Shopify and getting ads over into the AI overviews. So some of that would be really interesting to talk about. But yeah, over to you, Sam. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Holly. That was brilliant, by the way.
Yes, thanks, Holly. I'd loved your talk. It sets me up pretty well. So I think what Holly just did was show you exactly what you could do to make your shopping ads more profitable or get more revenue from shopping ads, because you're pushing into more volume for your ads by providing more information to Google. And I think that if you're skilled like that, and if you have the time to go after gathering the data you need and following the best practices, that is the ideal situation for your specific products, then that's great. if you might not have the time or the capacity or the knowledge to work with such scripts or to keep up with all the best practices and the updates that Google keeps pushing out, then Product Hero would be a very interesting partner for you, because we do all that heavy lifting for you. In general, AI starts to do more and more of that heavy lifting, and automations are definitely top of mind these days. So that's what I kind of wanted to touch upon before I dive into what we can do to help you guys. As we might all be wondering, what is next for PPC? So first of all, quick intro about myself. My name is Sam, as Anne already introduced me. I work a lot with both advertisers, as we at Product Hero help over 15,000 merchants with their shopping ads, but also I work a lot with digital marketing agency, hence is also why I'm familiar with Annika Digital, as they are a partner of Product Hero. I do a lot of team trainings and strategic sessions on shopping ads. We also have a webinar series where we discuss with agencies what's happening in e-commerce and how advertisers could get an improved performance from their shopping ads and so on. And we're focused internationally. So Product Hero isn't just a service in the UK. We serve all of Europe, and we do that pretty well. We're the biggest CSS partner out there. And that is nice to mention because that gives us tons of data to work with. So these days we understand very well what is helping you to improve your performance, what is impacting your shopping ads result the most, as well as if there's ever any updates, if there's ever any new things, like the thing that Google just recently is launching with the Performance Max Insights. We're on top of it because we always have advertisers that are going through those beta stages. You can see some really known and big brands down below in the screen. That's some of the advertisers we work with. But generally speaking, we also work with very, very small advertisers, all different kinds of industries and different kinds of products. Now, if you use Product Hero as a CSS partner, we would also give you access to a platform that is it just ranked as the best innovation software in 2024 because mainly it's just very easy to use and understand by anyone, I'd argue. So yeah, that's some things that I'm about to show you a bit later. First, what's changing for agencies, not just agencies, also advertisers in general, with all the AI things happening. If you'd ask me, then yesterday, the work that you do in digital marketing and e-commerce to improve your performance was looking like this. So you can see there's a lot of campaign management, which took up most of your time, where you're really trying to adjust your bids, adjust your strategies and goals, analyze the data, and work a lot in Google Ads, basically. Nowadays, you can see that campaign management is just a very small part of your work because of automations, because, for instance, of Performance Max, where Google is taking care of your bid strategy and when not to show products, and you have less and less control on that campaign management. So you should naturally shift your focus to what you can do and what is important for your performance these days, and that is starting with data management. So if you're talking automation, you need to put the automation to its strength, and that is by feeding it with the best possible data. So all the data that you have access to and that you can add is going to help to improve your performance. Trying to also then track what is successful and what not, which is becoming more and more complicated, but is also still very important, because within automation, it's not always doing it into your best interest, because automation is also going after quick and easy wins, whereas you need to help it to also steer towards new business rather than just those branded search terms, and that is all combining into your marketing strategy, where understanding also where your audience is influenced, where the marketing journey is actually starting, is also where you should then focus on, that you make sure that you utilize on that too. So we come from a place where we had a lot of campaign management, which was really into our control because that's where we feel comfortable in managing ads. But now we're moving more into a way where we really have to strategize and manage data, and therefore we need to collaborate a bit more. So we need to be in touch with not just the marketing team, but also with I think Holly gave a great example, your stock levels, with maybe stores, physical stores, if you have those two together, first party data from there as well. All different teams should work together to make sure that you keep on playing to the strengths of the nowadays developments. Right. So how you can future proof your agency or your brand. This is kind of getting repetitive right now, but it's really a shift from executing, managing ads, to strategy and automation oversight. So therefore, you would really need to help within your company to gather all the first party data that you can get access to, because without it, you're going to fly blind, because obviously we know cookies are going out of the window. Google Analytics can be very confusing. So if you manage to align the dots as well as what is successful and who is buying your products, that is going to make you indispensable for your boss or for the agency that you're working for. And then obviously AI is doing a lot of heavy lifting, doing the campaigns and such. But you need to feed it in with the right data. So we can't fight it, but we can definitely help it. Think of the examples Holly just did, by giving extra keywords to your product titles, by layering your product type so it understands better who and what kind of product it's dealing with and who is it interesting for to show to. Adding all those attributes such as color, size, materials, patterns, and so on. That is how you're going to help to optimize those ad structures, where then obviously you let AI work for you and use the right business data rather than just take those easy wins, because that's money you might have gotten anyways. And it is also very important because with AI and with the being able to advertise becoming more and more easy, there's also going to be more competition, which would drive up the costs. So there's actually no backing out from this. You need to make sure that you get everything optimized, and that's also what's also next for Product Hero, right? So we need to be there to help you optimize whatever you've got analyzed to continue to advertise in these ever-growing and ever-changing e-commerce markets. So how do we do it over here at Product Hero? Holly already shared a lot of this before, where she showed a script that you can help to segment your products so you take more control of your grip, of your bids, which is a lot of what we do at Product Hero. Then the relevance, right? So how well does Google and the algorithm understand the product you're selling, improve your product titles, descriptions, categories, and attributes. And then you're not the only one out there. You're competing with a lot of other advertisers, a lot of other web shops. And in that competition, pricing is very important, as well as do you have shipping costs? What are your reviews? And do you run promotions such as sales and so on? Now, this is the red line throughout everything we do, because if you focus on these three pillars, you can improve your shopping ads. So I know that from the poll when we started, there were quite some of you that also did not yet advertise with shopping ads. If you do have a web shop, it is a very important part of your marketing mix, because shopping ads takes a lot of the conversions you actually can get online. With, for instance, Performance Max, usually dedicating over 80 or 90% of the budget to shopping ads. That is for very good reasons. That is because these are the most successful in getting you a return on your investment. And shopping ads are for B2B, B2C, D2C, as long as you have a product that you can buy straight from the ad. So if you click on the ad, you go to your landing page and you can buy it straight from there and it can be delivered to your doorstep. That's basically the only requirement for the shopping ads. And when you have, for instance, a website or web shop on Shopify, WooCommerce, or Magento, or any other of those, it is fairly easy to get a basic feed into the merchant center to get going. And then I'd say right away, Product Hero would be a great fit for you, because every pound you're going to spend to be advertising in shopping ads, if you were to spend a pound with Google, they take a 20% margin of each pound that you want to bid on your shopping ads. So basically, you're only bidding with 80 cents. Whilst if you were to be with Product Hero as your CSS partner, your entire budget that you allocate to shopping ads is being used in that auction, and that auction is obviously going to help you to get the results that you're going for and get better placings within those search results. Now, if you then don't segment your products in time, you'll see that just a small portion of your products will drive all of the revenue. Whilst if you really dive into where your ad spend is going, we see that in most cases, over 50% of the ad spend is going to products that are underperforming. So you're kind of wasting money there. We call those products the villains. And then a large portion of your products that are sleeping, which we call the zombies. So they don't do anything at all. So it's really fun to see that Holly also just presented a script of an agency that has based their script of the labelizer that we've introduced. So over 4 years ago, we first went to market with this, and it was really new, and we've seen it really to become like a market standard for Google Shopping ads, which is really cool. But we still offer this solution, also because it's super effective. It gives you great insights, and it is also very, very easy to use if you have Product Hero. So it's just 3 simple thresholds that help you to divide your products and distribute them across 4 labels, where a Psychic is a potentially good product, so it has a high ROAS, but just very little volume right now, whereas a Hero drives a lot of volume, but also has a high ROAS, so it gets you what you're looking for, whereas a villain is driving a lot of volume. So you get a lot of clicks on those products, which you're paying for, but they don't convert and sell as much as you like. So that's why you're kind of overspending on those right now, and you need to act on that. And you could act on that if you use, for instance, the Product Hero solution, because straight from our platform, you can select a custom label that will help you to push these labels back into the merchant center. And if they're in the merchant center, you can go into Google Ads and automate a campaign. So therefore, you can create a campaign that is specifically for all your products that have a label zombie. And why would you do so? If you would segment the campaign with just zombie products, you're kind of forcing the algorithm, so forcing Performance Max or Standard Shopping, to only advertise with those zombie products to get your goal. Simultaneously, you'll continue to advertise with your heroes and psychics, where most of your budget is allocated to, because you need them to continue to drive your revenue. But by segmenting zombies, you're forcing the algorithm to find new heroes and psychics within that group. Otherwise, they would just be continued to be ignored. Once they start to improve performance, because of Product Hero, they will be automatically relabeled as a hero or psychic and pushed in your hero and psychic campaign. And you can do the same for villains, but they would really limit the budget. So Google will no longer overspend on those, making you more profitable straight away. So then we can talk relevance. So how can Product Hero help you to optimize your product titles? Holly already shared there's a lot of best practices that go with optimizing these product titles. And at Product Hero, we offer you 2 types of solutions to go for this. a very manual one, which gives you obviously a lot of control, what keywords you do and do not add to your products. Why is this a very useful tool? Because at Product Hero, we help you to understand which keywords could be interesting for you to add to your product title. So no need to do an analysis if you don't have the time or the capability. We did it for you, and we gave those keywords straight away. Also, you have the option there to optimize your title straight away. So it's 2-in-1. It does the keyword research and also gives you the option to add them straight to your title. So if you just click or drag and drop them, you add them to the title. Once you save it, it is pushed back to your merchant center with a supplemental feed, and voila, you have an optimized title, which gets you more impressions for your product. Now, that is very manual. We also have a very automated way in doing so, because the product title is indeed very important for your performance. This is where you can see this is shared by Google, how much it will impact the auction. So this is also impacting the auction, not just your bid, also the product information. As you can see, product types and Google product categories are just as important, as well as your GTINs, descriptions, and other attributes such as the color, the size, the material, the gender, the age group, and so on. Now, how does Product Hero help you in doing so? We have that GPT example or that Claude example that Holly just showed built into our platform and made it so easy that even your grandma could do it. And then within that prompt that we've built, we have also then added all the knowledge that we've gathered over the last couple of years and from all those advertisers using Product Hero, right? So this has all the best practices. So we have title templates which are based on that specific industry you're advertising. So if it's electronics, just select the template electronics. If it is fashion and clothing, just select the template apparel. You can select the language, so you can do this also in multiple languages if you look to extend to other markets. You can play around with how creative you want the AI suggestions to be. So if you have a rather decent feed already with quite some keywords in your product titles and a lot of the product types are already added, then you can expect to have more creativity, because then it would still find ways to optimize it. Whereas if you were more on the control side, you want to not be too creative. Obviously, you put it more to low. You can just run this anytime you like. So I'd suggest you to play around and see whenever the results are most to your satisfaction. It can even optimize your descriptions. And why it does so well is it's also looking at your images. And by your images, you can get a lot of information about your product. Obviously, understanding what color it is, but also sometimes the material, the size, the gender, all from that image. So yeah, I definitely recommend to use this, because obviously it's super effective, and it does not just your title, but it does almost your entire shopping feed at once, and no need to go into an external tool to do so, right? And then we enter the last pillar of the shopping ads framework, which is the market. As I said, pricing is very much impacting your performance, because shopping ads are just used as a comparison page, right? So a consumer is trying to find a product that they're looking to buy, and they're going to see who is selling that product and which is the seller at the lowest price. So you might have a great landing page, and it's going to get all the information about the product on your page because it is so good and well known. But then it's also going to use shopping ads to find the seller that puts it up at low price. So that is why we see that products that are really priced above the benchmark aren't as successful as products that are priced below. And I understand very well that you cannot always adjust your prices, and I'm not expecting you to, but what we can do is we can help you to at least share the insights and make this accessible for your campaign strategy. So first of all, this is only for advertisers that have price competitiveness data within the Google Merchant Center. So this you can activate within the new Merchant Center. And once you activate, you will see benchmark data for products that have added GTINs, which is a requirement, enough traffic on those products, and also enough competition. So if there's just one other seller, or if you're the only seller of the product, don't expect that to be price competitiveness data, obviously. But if there's more, then you can get this benchmark data from Google. And the benchmark data is basically telling you, are your products priced below benchmark, above benchmark, or at benchmark? We add it to our platform, so you can see also how are your benchmarks changing, but we would also enable you to use it for your campaign strategy. So you can use another custom label that if your product becomes below benchmark, that you will always push it with most of your budget. So as if it were to be a hero, as if it were to be a bestseller already. Because if you do it that way, then again, you're playing into the strengths of the algorithm and of the automations, helping it to push it to the right people as soon as possible, giving it the volume it deserves. So also the other way around, if your products are above benchmark, it's very likely conversion rates will drop. We want you to save costs, right? So treat this as a villain where you don't allocate most of your budget to, but just a small portion, so it won't overspend on those products. So as you can see, it's very similar to the things that Holly just shown you. And I think she's shown you great alternatives that you can work on if you don't have Product Hero. But if you want to have it all in one place, if you want the best practices that we've gathered and the user-friendly interface, and also we're keeping up with all the innovations and updates that Google is pushing out there, then Product Hero might be the right fit for you. And you can start and trial it for free for 30 days. After the 30 days, this is what you're paying for a service. So at Product Hero, you pay 39 euros a month if you want to benefit from that CSS discount on your CPCs, right? So remember when I said that if you use Google, basically every pound you spend, only 80 cents is used. With Product Hero, every pound you spend, that full pound is used. So you can do the math. Anyone that's spending more than 200 a month should already consider to work with Product Hero CSS based off the 39 that you're paying to us. You also get a lot of support. If you have any issues in the Merger Center, we're there for you, and you can already work on your product title optimizations. Now, for those who want to use that Products AI tool, the labelizer segmentation, and the price benchmark data, I suggest you to use Pro, and that is only coming at 99 euros a month. Don't worry, we don't leave you hanging. We have a great support team that can help you, but also an academy that is learning you all about how to improve your shopping ads. Some parts of it are about Product Hero and how to use it, but most of all, in general, learn more about Product Hero. More about Google Ads. I'd like to leave it at that, and I'm very curious to see if there's some questions that I can help you guys with.
Excellent. So that was a really good, definitely worth doing it in that order, because of course Holly was able to introduce a lot of these subjects. Do you want to stick? Are you still there, Holly? Do you want to stick the camera back on? I don't think there's been any questions since then. So really what we're saying is that if you're a completely beginner at this and you haven't got any expertise, then using a product like Product Hero will immediately give a lot of the functionality that Holly's actually in some cases built themselves. But is all of the thing, I had a feeling that some of the things that you offer, you actually had got like a freemium offer. So is some of the scripts or something available? What's the story behind that?
Yes, so if you want access to Product Hero, you need to be in the CSS plan. So you can already gather a lot from there in the basic plan. But then if you really want to implement and automate, then you'll need to go Pro to get full access.
And it's not particularly expensive to join the CSS plan. So, I mean, you don't have to be spending that much. If you're getting sort of a 20% discount, you don't have to be spending very much before it's actually worth investing in this, isn't it? So I guess if you're spending anything over sort of £1,000 a month in ads, which most e-commerce websites would, yeah. So with your product, what you get is all of the stuff that Holly in a way was describing that they do manually, but we use Product Hero as well. So it might seem a bit confusing to the audience. I know the reason, but Holly and Sam, would you like to explain, or maybe Holly, why would you do both? What's the advantages of doing both?
I mean, from the product hero side of things, obviously, the initial and primary benefit in terms of why we went to product hero was for kind of the CSS functionality, and getting those kind of cost savings. I think with like the built-in functionality within product hero, obviously that's kind of, I guess, to some degree, like out of the box. Like Sam said, it's very, very user friendly. Anybody could go in and kind of use it, and it's kind of built with, I guess, that in mind, that it's just easy to apply. On the script side of things, if you are technically able and you can kind of understand and rewrite and update scripts, obviously you can make a lot of customizations, and kind of build out and develop more functionality.
I think it can be pretty straightforward, and as I showed, that we have a pro plan which is at 99 euros a month. If you have the knowledge and skill like Holly does to work around with scripts, and so scripts are free. So if you manage to also keep an eye on them to make sure they don't break down, and if Google does an update, that you make sure that you're aligned with it with your script, then it can be a great alternative at a zero euro a month price point, right? So I think that's also the option that you have to take into account. Do I choose to pay some money to have it all supported and accessible through a platform that takes care of keeping it all going and don't break down your campaigns? Then you could, but also fair to you if you manage to do that yourselves with those scripts.
I guess also, because Product Hero isn't the only CSS partner, sometimes we inherit companies that become clients that are using somebody else, and they don't necessarily have all the functionality that you do. So we may need. So I guess from an agency's perspective, having the sorts of skills within the house, because it's not only Holly, the rest of the team have got this as well, allows us to do more customizable and spread it across a whole range of clients to give us that level of control that we need. So yeah, but get the best of both worlds. But there are some stuff that you use within your platform, like the price tracking. Did you mention that today? Because I don't think you did you?
Yeah, no, I did.
Okay. I am having to deal with other phone calls and things.
Yeah, the stuff like the price tracking and scripts like that is certainly much easier and simpler done via tools like Product Hero, because to do it via scripts outside of that, it requires like the Google Cloud and BigQuery knowledge, and so that takes the technical know-how to a whole
another level again.
I see, by the way, there's a question from Lindsay in the chat.
Yeah. Do you want to answer that then? So Lindsay said, great presentation. So well done, Sam. And if any of you love the presentation today, I'll use that as an excuse to ask you guys to give us a review. So if you like what you've seen today, then please put a review for the guys. I will get a bigger version of this. It's annoying me. It still annoys me that it's so little. So I mentioned Sam and Holly's name. That would be great. And what they were talking about today. But Lindsay's question was, can you tell me why you have to integrate attribute changes in the Merchant Center? Not following that part yet.
Yeah. So without going too technical, obviously, if a person is trying to find a blue sweater, then the algorithm needs to understand that the color of your product is actually blue. So it can be in a product title, but can also be part of your attribute. And also then, I always like to say that there's like two auctions going on. So one is the auction where Google is looking at, okay, who is bidding what kind of money to showcase your products and to get a click for the product. And then on the other hand, what product is most relevant to the search query that is being used by the consumer, because it also wants to show relevant products for the consumer. And therefore, it needs to be done in split seconds it needs to understand the information and all the information of the product. So is it actually working with a sweater for a man or for a woman? Is it actually a blue or is it a black sweater? Is it actually a size XL or is it a size L? Is it like knitted, or is it give me another example of how a sweater could be made. So, and then those attributes are helpful, obviously, to make sure that your product is picked above anyone that didn't add those attributes to its feed. So I hope that's answering the question. Maybe Holly, you would like to add to that?
I think you covered it spot on, to be honest.
Okay, so I had one thing I wanted to ask you guys about, which is, as we see Google launch AI overviews and AI mode into the UK, generally they don't want to they don't want to distract from their Google shopping ads, because of course Google shopping ads makes the most of their money. So we've also got ChatGPT having done a deal with Shopify, and we have seen examples of shopping ads over in the States. Where do you think all this is going? Because I think if you've got a Shopify website, and as ChatGPT grows, then that seems like a bit of a first mover advantage. So I'm probably asking Sem this, unless Holly's got any particular feedback or has done any research. Where do you see all this going, and how regularly do you see shopping ads in the AI overviews? Has there been any research or any data released on that yet?
So that's really, really early stages. But what we do know, obviously, that ChatGPT was taking away a lot of those first time searches, and that Google had to step up, which they did, because now with AI mode and also the recent introduction that they will also show paid ads within the AI overviews. This only became more important. So making sure that you update your product feeds, but maybe not just yet your product feeds, but also in general more your landing pages, to make sure that the intent is matching with whatever information is on your web page, as the AI is obviously showing more of how you can make a choice of what product you could sell and what product matches that best. So indeed, I agree with what you said. They will make sure that shopping ads will stay there, because it's driving so much money for Google. But they're looking at ways to implement that in the AI overviews, and that will also adjust the way that we are optimizing our products and our landing pages and so on. So yeah, you need to do all of it.
And I'm guessing, Holly, did you want to add anything to that first before I interject? Sorry.
I don't think so. I think when it comes to things like the AI ads in the AI section, I think at the moment the one thing to kind of be conscious of is the campaign types that you're using, because they are only applicable to certain campaign types. So Performance Max is automatically in there, but for example, if you're using search campaigns, it's only eligible if you've got broad match in there as well. Shopping ads, standard shopping is eligible, but only for very specific searches. So it is going down kind of that AI like campain route as well. With the ChatGPT and Shopify at the minute, it's not ad enabled. I know I forgot his name, but the owner of it. Yeah, but I know he mentioned that, you know, it's something that they may consider in the future, but at the minute that's going to be kind of an SEO functionality, because they're not building ads into it as it stands.
I know that one of our clients, Skintique, he said that there's a button that you can basically turn on and off within Shopify, because he's a Shopify, got a Shopify website, as part of that partnership with ChatGPT. The final part I wanted to raise before we close for the morning was about landing pages, and I've got a reason for sort of leaving it to the last. And that's the importance of having more information, almost making a product page almost like a home page, in the sense that you've got all the information around that product and alternatives on that page. Have you got any opinions Oh, we've got another question coming in. Have you got any opinions about how the sorts of depth of information and comparative data that you probably would want to put on a product page, and how you would improve your product pages now?
Yeah, I think that's best for Holly, as we come right after that.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the product pages, obviously ties more into kind of the SEO side of it. The benefit of improving the product pages directly on the website is that will filter back into your kind of Google Shopping feed and reduce the amount of work that you've got to do on kind of the, I guess, the front end side of your shopping feed once it's exported out of the website. But yeah, I mean, same as kind of with the Google Shopping feed, the more information, like the attributes that you can get onto the page, that you can get into the like schema from an SEO perspective, if you've got them in the schema, obviously that's a benefit, because Google can match them from kind of the free listings perspective as well.
And I'm guessing that that's also going to help your SEO as well, isn't it? So we'll come on to that. We'll come back to that topic in a minute, because somebody else has got another question in. I'd like your thoughts about how it will affect when customers use ChatGPT as a shop assistant, which I think is a really important point. I should have had this on my hit list. About a month ago, we started to see orders coming from ChatGPT and make us think that this might replace Google Ads in the future. So let me just break that down into a couple of things. So the first thing is that ChatGPT's traffic in the UK, Google is actually still over 90% in the UK, whereas in the States it's more like 75%. So although it has dropped a couple of percentage points, things like ChatGPT haven't made up the difference. And in fact, I would suggest that AI overviews and TikTok Shop have probably had more of an impact on the amount of traffic that you'll get from Google, from SEO or ads, for example, than actually ChatGPT. There's a second part of that question, and that's the ability for AI agents to shop on your behalf. And this is a really good opportunity for me to mention that we've got AI Gus this month. And what we've got there is a series of webinars and workshops every Wednesday afternoon from 4 to 6. And basically what we're doing is this week we're going to be talking about vibe coding, which is great for CRO experiments. And the next week, the fourth week, is actually going to be on what's new. And including with what's new is this concept of how AI agents like ChatGPT agent mode can be used to go and do shopping for you. So I think that's going to have a massive change. Is there any more questions? I'll just put a little bit of an advert up for AI August, so you guys can still sign up for the rest. You can also get the recording from this week, which was practical prompting. So please go and register for that as well. You can register for all of them on the same one. So go and help yourself to that. If there's no more questions, I think we're round up for now. But thank you very, very much for your great presentations today. I always learn something every time I hear you two talk. So great presentation, guys, and have a great weekend, everybody. And we'll see. Our actual Friday webinars are finished until September, to give everybody a little bit of a break. But please join us on the Wednesday specials. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.